The point of this is, you know, I mean, our family, our family's gone through a lot, obviously. And so, and you know, you made a very interesting point. We were talking and you were like, it has to be for something. What's it for? You know, and then, you know, you would always relay these incredible experiences that were simply, for the most part, you know, the best way to describe it would be say they were unbelievable, you know, to listen to them. And yet, entirely believable. To the point, and you're my sister, you know, like what good would you do to make this up, you know, to me? Yeah. You know? So I always wanted to share this message. You know, because I feel like I don't even know it. I don't even know how deep this message is, how much you know what this experience is. I only get little flashes of it that you share with me, you know, whenever you're kind of telling a story about this happening or that happening, and you saw this or felt that, and I get these little glimpses of it, but I never really get the full revelation of it. And I feel like, you know, that let's just see, I just want you to share what these extraordinary experiences you've had. So let's just start at the beginning. And again, anything you don't want to say, you don't have to say. Anything that later you're like, I want that taken out, we'll take it out. It's not a big deal. But I think the first thing for me is you know, okay, so when you were born, you know, you had to have many surgeries in your first 3 years of life. Do you even know exactly how many surgeries you had?
About 3 major and then a whole bunch of procedures. A lot of them are scattered everywhere, so I can't really tell you a number.
But estimating?
Like maybe about 20 procedures.
20 procedures.
Just here and there fixing this and that, and then the 3 major surgeries.
3 major surgeries?
Yes, where it's reconstructive surgeries.
Yeah.
Where it goes from, well, we're trying to fix this, and then you find something bigger that's a problem.
Right.
And now it's a bigger issue, and you got to go into it and really recreate the anatomy. Something that I was supposed to be born with that I wasn't.
Right.
And my anatomy is completely different from yours. And even though I look as normal as I do, everything's
completely different from everybody's.
It's completely different from everybody's. And that's basically where all of this started, was with the surgeries. The shock of the pain, the shock of the trauma that came with it. Yeah. Because I was born into it. It wasn't where I got sick after a while or they didn't know at first. No. The moment I came out was the moment everything changed. I came out with VATER syndrome, which was a very rare disease that they're still learning more about it every day. And it's a genetic disease where it mutates the genetic genes. So the way that I was supposed to be formed inside, I wasn't. Yeah. I was supposed to be born with 2 kidneys. I got 1. And it's in a weird position, not exactly even where it's supposed to be. Right. Then where the second kidney is supposed to be on the left side, I have 1 ovary in the place instead of the kidney. Right. And only 1 ovary, only 1 kidney. Oof. And both in 2 opposite areas. And
they're just not where they're supposed to be.
Not supposed to be where they are. Yeah, exactly. And it just started with that. At first, I was born, and you can tell right away something was extremely wrong. I was born like a doll, completely closed up. Everything was just closed up. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even have the lungs to breathe correctly. It just didn't fully form. It just didn't form. It formed in a weird, mutated way. Yeah. And that's why I think some of this really started, because from the moment I'm born, I'm thrown into surgeries, medication, procedures.
Major procedures, like cutting you in half, basically cutting you in half.
Yeah, basically cutting me in half and just trying to put back together something that wasn't created. And that's where the real trauma began, because it isn't something normal. And even at the time, they had no idea what to think.
They didn't know what they were dealing with.
No.
Because it's unique. It isn't like, oh, this is, you know, that. I mean, there's no diagnosis for it. It's like, what is happened? This?
Yeah.
It's like if you lifted the hood on a car and someone had just invented their own car.
Exactly.
And nothing was the way it is in any other car. There's no carburetors. It's not based on pistons, but there are rods. Like everything is just out of order and
Completely. The bladder had 3 bladders instead of 1 and in multiple sections of each other.
Wow.
The colon wasn't corrected. It wasn't the way that your colon is. It was like stuck in the middle between everything else. And then you got all these loops and stuff of things that were supposed to grow or was supposed to move this way and didn't. So right now I deal with a lot of scar tissue, a lot of chronic pain. Of course, I have the constant shaking because of nerve damage. I mean, I've actually been called a miracle because I look so normal considering what has happened.
And this VATER syndrome, it normally affects people on the exterior. Isn't that right?
Yeah, well...
And yours is like one of the few cases that it was internal.
Well, actually, it can mutate. That's the thing. There's like so many different versions of it.
Oh, so it just mutate any way it wants, and it's just all it's all VATER syndrome.
And there's different forms of it. There's Potter syndrome, there's VATER syndrome, there's also Down syndrome that's connected to that as well. And it's all because of the way the fetus was created. It's not normal. It got basically contaminated in some way.
Now, one of the most interesting stories I ever heard you tell me was how when our father first brought you home here to from the hospital.
Yeah.
And you didn't realize we were your family.
No.
You were like, who are these people? You thought your family were the hospital people.
Yes, I did. I thought I lived at the hospital.
Because you'd always been at the hospital.
I spent the first 10 years of my life in and out of the hospital. And so I lived there. Right. My parents lived there with me. Yeah. So to me, that was my normal.
That was your home?
That was my home.
You lived in the hospital.
I didn't even realize I had siblings until much later because you guys were never able to really come. I was always so far away. And even when I was born, they immediately took me away. Yeah. To Lubbock. I get sent to Lubbock, and my parents are not with me for 2 weeks. Right. So through that 2 weeks, I'm in Lubbock by myself with hospitals and doctors and surgeons, and they're just trying to keep me alive. Yeah. And my parents are over here trying to fund the money to get there, let alone try to fix me. So I didn't even know any of you existed, really. Yeah. Until around maybe 4 or 5, when I got to come home. And I remember thinking, we're going for a visit. We're going to go visit somebody. Yeah. And after a few days, I got annoyed. And I told Dad, I want to go home. And he goes, we are home. And I go, no. I want to go to my home. Right. The hospital. Like the hospital.
In Lubbock.
And he had to sit me down, him and Mom, and tell me, these are not strangers. These are your siblings. And this is your home. Yeah. And then that's when they had to do the process of explaining to me why that's kind of so hard for me to understand. And it became a thing. Yeah. So it became kind of like a thing where I had to learn to process it and adjust. Yeah. I didn't understand anything about normality or what having a schedule was or going to work.
Right. You were like, you just lived in a hospital and they just tried to fix you all day.
That, and I was always sitting.
Blunderingly.
Yeah. So.
And you at one time, it also expressed to me that you kind of developed a split personality, the one that kind of took the pain and didn't trust people. Is this something you still feel today?
I've had to learn to control that.
You control that?
Because I believe that came in with the trauma of the surgeries.
That's exactly right. I believe that too.
So that is what opened the window. And being sick is one thing, and having to learn to process all of that and be your own nurse and take care of your body, that's so different. Yeah. And then to be mentally kind of different. Yeah. And I never told the doctors that because I remember watching a movie when I was little. And it was, I think, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Right. And they wouldn't let him out of the hospital. Right. And he starts losing it because he couldn't believe it. Like he thought, oh, I'm supposed to be here for a period of time and then you let me leave. And they all start laughing at him about how long they've been there and that's not how it goes. And I remember thinking, oh, I better not tell anybody. I don't want to get him.
Right. You don't want to get locked up.
And I remember telling Dad that, will they send me away? Will they send me away for being weird? And Dad had to explain, like, what you have is different, and what they're going through is different, and it's not the same thing.
Yeah, totally.
But when I was 6, one of the major surgeries happened again because the bladder wasn't cooperating. Like, it's not working right. And I was having a lot of UTIs and infections, and it was starting to cause a lot of trauma. I mean, a lot of pain, suffering. We didn't know what to do. So finally, we went back to Lubbock. We got sent back to Lubbock, and right back into surgery it went. And that's when the out-of-body experience happened.
That was the first one.
That was the
Now,
first
is this
one.
your second or third major surgery?
It's about the third or fourth major surgery. Because the first 3 are when I'm babies, and then it goes back to, and then after a while, I get sent home.
Right.
And that's when all the symptoms started. And then I get sent back again when I'm 6.
Okay, so this 6th one, this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is your 4th major surgery now.
Yeah.
Okay.
They told my parents it wasn't going to be as long as it ended up being. I ended up being in surgery for 10 hours.
Jesus.
And there were some complications, and I think that's why I ended up dying. But they never put that on the paperwork. I don't think they really wanted to be caught for fucking up, you know?
Yeah.
And I just remember they put me to sleep, and I don't remember anything. And then all of a sudden, I remember feeling like I was drifting out. Like I was awake, but I wasn't awake. And I could feel the difference.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't cold, I wasn't warm. It was all like normal. Like there was no feeling about it at all.
Right.
And then I floated over myself like this.
Yeah.
And that's when it really, really hit me. Because then I looked down, and it's me on the table.
Yeah.
And they have me opened with the things holding me open like that.
Oh.
And one of the surgeons had made a mistake.
Yeah.
And he cut me somewhere he wasn't supposed to. So I started bleeding. And I started hearing them, "What did you do? What did you do? She's bleeding, she's bleeding. What? You weren't supposed to do that, you weren't supposed to do that." And then just a lot of panic and a lot of like, "Get me gauze. We need to sew this back up." I went into shock. I saw my body just bleeding all over the table. And just like open.
Yeah.
This. And that, it looked horrible. And the doctors all trying to be calm and try to fix what he did. And I remember thinking, I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. And I closed my eyes, and I literally transported to my house. And I was at the back door of the Canadillo house.
Mm-hmm.
And for a whole second, I felt relief. Like, I'm home, it's over.
Right.
Until I tried to go in. And I couldn't get the door open. I could see through the sliding door that my brother John was sitting on the couch. And he was eating a bag of Doritos watching TV. And my brother Samuel was on the floor playing with his Ninja Turtles in front of the TV. And I started banging on the door. "John, open the door. Open the door, John, open the door. John, can you hear me? Can you hear me?" Nothing happened. So I waited there, and I kept banging on the door, and I kept pulling it like really hard to try to get it open.
And it went open.
There was a barrier. And finally, like after I felt like a minute or two of banging and trying to pull it open, my sister Drew walked through the living room. And then right after her, my brother Mark. So I started banging, "Mark, Mark, Drew, Mark, Drew." Drew walked off to the kitchen. And I banged really hard. Like I remember Drew going, "Let me in!" And right when I did that, Mark stopped in front of the door. And he looked right at the sliding door like he heard me. And I remember standing there like, he heard me, open the door, open the door. And he just stood at the door like what's wrong? Like he himself looked confused.
Yeah.
And then he just shook it off and walked off. Like, I guess I'm being paranoid. I don't know what his thought was. But he looked at that door like he heard me. And I couldn't get through. Mark walks off, and I remember turning around, and the backyard wasn't the backyard anymore. It was fog everywhere, just white fog all around me. I could see the window into the living room, but there was nothing on the other side. And I remember feeling really scared and really freaked out and confused and thinking, like, what do I do? What do I do? And then I heard a voice. Sarah. Sarah, come here. And I remember thinking, like, who's that? Come here, Sarah. It's okay, Sarah. Come here. And I remember just feeling like I was being pulled, like just floating.
Yeah.
And then I felt like I was being floated really far away. And then it just stopped. And I remember I was like in the white area.
Wow.
And a woman came out. She was dressed in white. And she smiled really big at me. And she didn't speak. I could hear her in my mind. She spoke like with her mind. And she told me, "You're not supposed to be here, Sarah. It isn't your time. Do you know who I am?" And I go, "You look like my mom." She goes, "It's time to go back." I went like this, and I remember going, "You look like my mom," and just falling. And in that moment with her was such peace. I didn't feel fear, no confusion. Everything that I was ever thought of or felt was just gone until she sent me back.
Right.
I knew when I was in my body because I felt like I was falling a long distance, and I went from being completely peaceful to, oh my God, like scared. Everything that I had before was all of a sudden like falling back in. And then boom, back in the body. I could hear the machines beeping and the nurses, and my body was cold and shaking, and I could feel all of that. I couldn't feel the pain, but I could feel that something was wrong with my body because it was doing what it's doing now, where it's shaking.
Yeah.
And I could hear the doctors talking. And I guess it was after the surgery, and they brought me out, and my parents were waiting for me. And I remember it because I tried so hard to communicate to my parents because I could hear them. And my mom, "Why does she look like that? Why is she shaking? She's purple. What have you done? Why does she look like that?" And the doctors tell them, "There were some complications, but she's all right. We got through it. We found some other problems, but we fixed it." No. "Why is she shaking? Why is she shaking?" "Dad, she's all right, Yolanda. She's here." The whole time they're having this, I hear them.
Yeah.
And I felt for like a second like I was underwater because I kept trying to talk.
Right.
And I kept trying to say something, and I couldn't. It was like a lot of pressure on top of me.
Yeah.
But I could hear everything going on.
I'm sure it's the medications at that point. Yeah. That's their job.
And then after that, I kind of just floated away again. And I don't know where I went. The next time is me waking up a few days later. And I knew then that this experience was real because I remembered all the details.
Yeah.
And my parents had to tell me that I had been knocked out for 3 days.
Yeah.
And the doctors couldn't wake me up.
All right, so where were we?
When I was 6.
Right, so you were 6, right. So you then were in basically a 3-day chemically induced coma.
Yes.
And then you came out of that.
Yes, but they weren't able to get me out of that. My parents had to bring me back. Dad and Mom always have been a team in church. They were ministers.
Yes.
So they knew a lot about the gospel, scriptures, things like that. So when that happened, they had the right, I don't know how to say it, like they just knew what to do.
Yeah.
So Mom went and prayed in the chapel, and you'll probably get her side of the story about it later on. But she did. She had to go wake me up. The doctors were getting very insecure and feeling that they were losing me because I wouldn't wake up. They had taken away all the drugs, and they thought by doing that, the pain would bring me back.
Right.
It didn't. And even in that moment, I remember feeling like I was in the in-between, is what I would call it.
Okay.
Because it's like being stuck between two realms, where you know that that's where you should be, but you're kind of in this moment, and then there's a whole other side that you're still connected to. And it's like kind of playing like a game, like going back and forth. Mm-hmm. And I remember just feeling like I was just somewhere else, like just, like I said, in between.
Yeah.
And then Mom came and she told me in my ear, "It's time for you to wake up, Sarah. Listen to my voice and wake up." And I remember hearing it on the other side and going, "That's my mom." And like just automatically thinking like, "I'm gonna go with my mom."
That's great.
And that's when I wake up. I remember I just kind of followed her voice back.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, she had to tell me what had happened and how I was asleep for 3 days. And then everything just started flooding back, all of it. And I had to tell her, like, I saw myself in the surgery room and I was bleeding out and I died. I went somewhere else. I remember I told her the whole story.
Yeah.
For a minute, she thought maybe it was a hallucination or something like that. Until the doctor came in and I started telling him what he did wrong. And then I saw him do it in the surgery. And he told my parents, "That's impossible. What did you do?" He's like, "What did you do? What did you give her to wake up? And how would she know this? There's no way that your daughter should know these details," is what they told her. And I remember my mom going, "Well, she woke up and she knows all of it." She goes, "She knows it. She saw it." And he said, "That's impossible. That's impossible. She should have any memory of it," is what he said. Not even an idea of what happened.
Right.
And there I was with the full-blown story of what happened.
Yeah.
And the shock of it and how I just took off. I was like, "Nope, checked out."
Yeah.
I was like, "This is ugly, bye." And, and they were amazed. They were really amazed. And the doctors were very scared at what that could have possibly been because of the intel that I had about it. The fact that I knew details and what they were saying word for word was very, very shocking to them.
Yeah.
And Mom had to tell me, like, "You were in a coma and you wouldn't wake up." And I told her, "Well, I heard you. You told me to come home when I came back." I told her that. I go, "Well, I heard you." And I told her about the woman. See, the woman ended up being my mother's mother.
Our real grandmother.
Our real grandmother.
Who we've never met.
Who we've never met.
Right.
Exactly. So that's why I thought she looked like my mother, but I had no idea who she was.
Right.
Because none of us had ever met her. She died before any of us were ever born.
Yeah, she died when Mom was like 14 years old.
17.
17.
Of cancer.
Of cancer.
So it was very shocking. And my mom had no photos of her mother, so I had no idea.
Because our stepmother
was an awful woman, and she burned all of her pictures.
Step-grandmother.
Our step-grandmother.
Yeah.
She's burned all of my grandma's pictures and all of her clothes, so there was nothing left of my grandmother to know of. And it wasn't until years later, like I'm 15, maybe 16 years old, my Uncle David sends my mom a birthday gift. And it's an old photograph he had found that he had saved. And it was of my grandfather and my grandmother when they were young and first married. And when I saw the photo, I go, "That's her! That's the lady!" I go, "That's her! That's the one who pushed me out of heaven. That's the one who sent me home." And Mom goes, "That's my mom." And it just kind of like all clicked. It took me a long time to figure it out, but it finally clicked because I finally got the photo and I go, "That's her. That's the woman from the other side."
Wow.
Who told me it's not my time.
And I've never seen this photo. I still haven't seen it.
It's in Mom and Dad's room right now.
Okay.
But yeah, it was the first time I had ever seen her, ever.
You knew it right then. You're like,
I knew it right then when I saw it. I was like, "Oh, that's her." Because for the longest time, all I thought was maybe it was an angel. Like just
right, who just looked like Mom to make you comfortable or something, or
like that took on an appearance to keep me calm and to understand. No, it was my grandma. She showed up. She showed up and she saved me, or I would have probably died because I was stuck in the in between where I could have gone either way.
Right.
I don't think.
Did you feel the choice was yours?
No. Not in that moment. No. I felt like it was being forced on because of the trauma.
Right.
Because of the fact that I saw myself like that, I went into shock. And then I set myself away.
Right.
And when that happens, even though it felt really peaceful after I saw her and I met her, it felt incredible. Like after I came back, I didn't want to go back. Like feeling that different after feeling such peace. I mean, there's no way to explain that. It's not something you can find here. I mean, you really have to find your soul within yourself to find that kind of peace.
Yeah. It's
something that is just really magical because it isn't like anything you have here. But then being on that side isn't like anything here either. It makes you realize the real difference.
Right.
Because being over there, everything human about me was gone.
Right.
The fear, the idea, the thoughts, just the plain feeling that you're always under when you're in anxiety, when you're thinking of things, it's just gone. Just gone. And it's like you could be anything and everything all at once. And nothing can stop you. You're just beautiful. It's just perfect. I can't even put it in a word of how incredible it felt to be that peaceful with my grandmother.
Yeah.
To be that protected. And I had to learn that, it sucks because I'm here and you can't find that here. Not all the time. I mean, certain people can learn to obtain it and control it and hold it in. And that will bring them their inner peace, which is totally possible, but it takes a tremendous amount of concentration.
So that's what you think meditation
can be.
That's what it leads to.
Yeah, that's
is a state that is similar to the afterlife.
Yes.
Of stillness.
Yes, because it just isn't the same. Now, I think the reason why it didn't go as far is because I was brought back. Now, if I would have fully crossed over, then I would have seen maybe the real full-on realm.
Yeah.
But the fact that my grandmother showed up just proves to me they're there.
Yeah.
It shows that they're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there is a whole other realm because later on in my life, I've had to experience a lot of unnormal things. I've had to go up against spiritual entities that are not normal. And it is a process to learn because you're trying to live in this realm while having a flicker of a light to another. And it'll just set you off anytime. I don't have real control over it, but it came in when I died.
So I believe that there are some people for whom that door is open.
Yes.
And for the people who genuinely the door is open, it's usually connected to a near-death experience.
Near-death experience.
Like they went through it, came back through it, and the door stayed open.
Yes.
And the people that I think are charlatans are the ones that really are out there with it. Like I can see, I can feel, I know this, I know the future, and they try and make a lot of money with basically, maybe a heightened sense of empathy. But for the people that really see it, for people for whom the door's open, I feel like they don't want to use this in any way. They don't want this to be, they're having to tell you the experience, but they don't want to use this to try and decipher anything for you.
Well, that's another thing people don't understand is that when you have a real connection like that, it takes energy from you.
Yeah.
To have that kind of connection and to really be able to stick with it. Your body gets worn out like a machine.
Uh-huh.
And that kind of connection can pull a lot of energy out of you.
Yeah.
Especially if you are that connected. If you can sustain that door and open it whenever you choose, I mean, there's people out there who can, and they really know what they're doing and they know how to hold it. But
is that right? There are some.
There's some people out there who can do it, but I don't suggest it. Because just like there is a spirit realm, there are things in the spirit realm that we're not meant to do or know about or control.
Right.
And those are the things that can interact with you and that can cause major damage in your life.
Do you think like there's this drug like DMT, which I think is like an isolated drug that is out of ayahuasca, that opens the door?
Yes.
Oh, so that is a genuine opening of the door. Because there are people that they go on the other side and they're like, meet other people and have all these experiences with other people.
I don't think for one second it is an illusion. I think that they really are opening what I call maybe the third eye.
Right.
Because you're connecting to every human has it. And that's one thing that nobody wants to realize is that no matter how human we are, We're still spirits inside.
Right.
And our spirit connects to everything. I mean, energy, everything.
Right.
That's why these people are able to say like, well, I saw a ghost. Well, what happened? Well, the lights went off and on, or the TV changed channels, because it's energy. And we're able to control that energy. But we don't know that, like they know that. That's why it's easy for ghosts to mess with us, for things like that to go awry when it goes bad, because it's energy. And then you feed the energy by giving into the energy. You're scared of it, so there's energy.
Oh, so if they can frighten you, get an emotion, you've given them power.
And that's a whole different subject, too. That's something I had to go through and learn, and my parents had to deliver me through it.
So for some people, the door opens up and then you can't close it. So you wake up from this surgery and now you have an open window.
Yes.
Or as you call it, a cracked window.
Yeah, I call it a cracked window because it's something I can't fully close, but it's also something I can't control.
Right.
But it's like having a sensor on you that will go off at any time. And it's about anything. You could be in a grocery store, and if someone is like got a really bad spirit or did something really bad, you're gonna feel it. And It's gonna make you sick. It's gonna make you really sick. And you gotta get away from that. Especially people who don't know God. I don't suggest trying any of this without having just any kind of belief in something higher.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, that's where it all can go wrong. Because also, the other side has energy that's evil. And it likes to take on appearances of someone that you love or miss or that you're looking for. And then there's the door being opened.
And it's just open for them.
It's just open for them. And you're connecting to something that isn't right or isn't real.
Is evil energy exclusive to this planet? Is something specifically here on Earth to teach us something?
Yeah, basically. Something is don't mess with it.
Right.
Not if your intentions are not real, don't go for it. And two, don't listen. Okay, one, women who do card reading or have amulets, they have a spirit guide. Don't listen to them because that spirit guide has about 500 different spirit guides with them. And you're letting them in. You're opening the door because you're trying to find knowledge in the wrong way. Talk to your ancestors, talk to your family members that you're missing, and they'll come to you in a dream. They'll come to you in a vision. They'll give you just signs right in front of you. If you have the intelligence to understand or realize it, you'll connect.
Yeah, sometimes you want to ignore the signs because it's not the sign we wanted.
Exactly.
And so we're like, that's not the sign. It's like, no, or was that the sign?
That was the sign.
That was the sign. And we know, we feel it.
And that's what I mean. It's just like energy comes in all kinds of ways, and we're connected to everything. Animals, plants.
And they've proven this in science. When they get to this, they've said this. When you get to the subatomic level, you can't tell the difference between anything.
Exactly.
Everything becomes connected. Everything becomes one singular energy. And it's almost like all we are like we're just vibrating at a different level than this is vibrating at. And what this area is vibrating at a kind of a very open vibration. And this is a solid vibration. We're solid vibration. But other than that, it's all the same. It's all connected. We're all touching each other.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah. I mean, just us being
And do you
here.
feel like that's maybe what Jesus meant when he said, when you do this to the least of these, you do it unto me?
Yes. See, I don't want to go into the whole, because
I don't want to make it religious either. I just that brought to mind. Because obviously being raised, we're in the church and raised in the church. And
that's exactly the meaning of it, basically. Yeah, because no matter how much you may not like a person or you see differences in this realm, when you get yourself out of your body and you really concentrate on energy, we are nothing different. We are completely 100% alike.
Well, exactly. And I've said that a lot. The rules of the universe apply to everybody, which I guess when I say that, what I'm saying is the rules of energy apply to everybody. It doesn't matter how famous, how rich, how entitled, who your parents are. Nothing matters. Everybody gets hurt. Yes. Everybody feels pain. Everybody gets disappointed. Everybody loses somebody they love. Everybody has something happen to them that is completely and utterly unfair. And yet it happens.
Yeah.
And so nobody escapes the rules of the universe.
No, because it's there to teach us a lesson, which is to enjoy our lives and to experience things. The things we get to experience here are nothing like on the other side. The other side, we're just energy. And we're what we want to become. Here we get to experience love. We get to experience feeling things and real enjoyment. Where on the other side is just peace. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to try to
There's no variation. It's just
there. You are.
So let me ask you this then. Do you think people that are adrenaline junkies kind of brought that lesson with them into this life?
Yeah.
Like, and they got to the, like, maybe, are there multiple lives?
I don't know about multiple lives.
Okay.
I know about doorways. I know about spiritual entities. And I know about demonic possession. All those things do exist. All those things are not like the movies, though. It's far worse because it's mental. It's in your physical body. People don't see the things that are happening to you or hear the voices that are talking to you. It's only you. And that's what makes it worse. Because now you look crazy to the rest of the world when they're the ones making you crazy. And entities like that, they really exist. Because I've gone across them a million times in my life. I mean, so far, where they tormented me, where I levitated off the bed. And it took my mother, my sister, and my father to do a 4-hour prayer session to get me under control. And
but it worked.
It worked. It worked. And this is how I know that it really was an entity. Something that wanted to possess me or something that wanted to torment me. Because my dad would put his hands on my body and it would move. The pain. It would go from one side to the other like he was
shift away from his hand.
Shift away from my father's hand. And the same with my sister and my mom. And it would go from my right side to my left side. Then from my left side to my stomach. From my stomach to my throat. What is that? And I would tell him, it feels like something's killing me from the inside out. Something's killing me from the inside out. It's like tormenting me. It's like it feels like someone's squeezing the life out of you.
Because they want your energy.
Because they want my energy.
How did do you have any idea? I mean, I guess, I don't know how you would know, but is there some concept as to how evil energies, like, how did these get created? Where did they come from? And why are they part of this existence?
Well, those entities were created from the beginning of time. They were here long before we were. Yeah. And that was why God created the earth.
It's just part of the creation of the universe.
Yes.
Like part of it, and so this is part of this realm, this earth, this world.
Well, they want what we have. They want what we have. They want our light. They want to feel what we feel. They want to have a physical body. See, that energy no longer is allowed here. See, God put up barriers. And when he did that, there's certain doors you can't come through. And that's why they can't possess me. But you go to other countries and people are just like that possessed. Just like they walk into the wrong place and it's boom, it's picked you and is now you. And you're now just consumed by it. That's because you don't believe in anything. And if you don't have any belief in another power or even in yourself, you're an open target. And that's why it happens to children, because we're innocent and our brains are not completely fully developed. So there's little cracks everywhere to come in.
Wow.
And then that gives them a body to experience what we have, which they can't. All they get to do is roam. They get to fly around. They get to scare us. They can try to do some hokey pokey stuff because they're energy. But they don't have the power that we have in one body. See, human beings are like lightning in a bottle. And they have no idea about it. And the fact that we are is what they want. They want to be able to exist in a body and to feel and to produce. And they can't. They're just evil energy. Wow. And see, people don't understand that our energy can control that energy. And instead of controlling it, we allow it in. We leave a doorway open for them to just slither themselves through. And then we have all these problems. We got poltergeists. We've got exorcisms now we have to do because what happened? People went searching for answers that they themselves already have. And by doing that, you opened the door. And when you open that door, now this came in. And then when that came in, it came in with a legion of demons. And I call them demons because they're not something normal. They're not human beings. They're not spirits that have passed on. It's just pure evil energy that takes on forms to make us believe that they're real, to make us believe that there's something special about them. And there's nothing special about them. They're what got stuck in the between. They're not allowed in heaven. They don't want to go back to hell. So they torment the rest of us. And that's just that's what they are. Even with those people with the ancient aliens, no, they're demons. And they've taken on a form to try to seduce us into believing that there's something special, and they're not. And if you think that you're going to find some great answer with them, they'll give you knowledge, and then they'll put you in a grave. And that's what really happens when you play with the wrong energy, when you open too many doors you can't close.
Right. So, so what is then the point of this? Is this journey, I guess you say this, is this journey a punishment? Is it a lesson to be learned? Or is it a vacation?
Geez, I don't know how to interpret that one. I really don't. All I can say is that I want people to understand that there is another side and that this isn't the only life you get. But it's not, we're not supposed to go there faster. We're supposed to get there when it's our time. And it sucks that people die early on sometimes from diseases and things like that because it's not meant to be. You're not supposed to die early on. They want you to exist here. And then on the other side is a whole different concept. It's a whole different idea of life.
Yeah.
It's bigger. It's much bigger than even our picture. It is. It's something completely different. And there is no interpreting it because I'm not a god and I can't say what created the earth for reals. All I can say is that it's up there and it's real and I can sense it every day. And my door opens every now and then. It's just like a flicker of light that goes on and off whenever it wants to. I mean, I knew that my father was going to die. And it was hard to feel that and to know those things because I couldn't stop it.
So that was the surgery at 6 that cracked the window.
Yes.
Was that the first and only time you ever died?
No, I died 2 more times. Again, 1 more time in a surgery, and then... How
old were you when that happened, if you recall?
Both times I was 11.
Okay, two more times when you were 11.
Yes, because the second one was in surgery, the third one was on accident. The student nurse gave me medication. And that's when I started to die. It became kind of a panic. Mom and Dad were there. And I remember because it was right after one of my other major surgeries. I think this was when they reconstructed the uterus or the vagina, whatever you want to. And I was having a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So the student nurse came in because it was her shift anyways. And she was being taught. Well, my head nurse, Donna, wasn't in the room at the moment. So the lady just read the file and thought, like, it's no big deal. Well, she went, by a little bit over. And because I was already in such a bad condition at the time, it just hit too much. Kind of like a little bit of an overdose kind of situation.
Right.
So I remember dying in that situation because I felt really good. They gave me the medicine and the pain started going away. But then I started going away with the pain. And I remember because it felt like a window. Because I remember going back that's strong. Like I got hit with it.
Right.
And I remember laying back and looking right at Dad and going, I don't feel so well. And just kind of falling backwards. And in my head, I was looking through like a window.
Right.
And the window was getting further. It was going like this.
Right.
But I could see through it.
Right.
And I was falling, and Mom and Dad were in the window telling me to wake up. And then the nurse comes in, and she's, Sarah. And I could see her right in front of me doing this. And there was no response. I was just like falling into like a hole. That's what it felt like. A black hole. And all there was a little window like this. And it was just fading away. And Mom and Dad started praying. And the nurse was like, you gave her too much. And now she's not responding. And I just remember feeling like I was falling away. Like just slipping away.
Drifting away, yeah.
And I don't know exactly what she gave me. I remember that she left the room. And then she comes back. And I remember she's grabbing the IV. And I can feel them tugging on me, like trying to wake me up.
Yeah.
And I don't know what she put in the IV, but whatever she did, corrected the effect of the drug.
Right.
And I felt like I was electrocuted back into life.
Right. It was some kind of a jolt that...
It was horrible. I had never felt pain like that before because it hit right here in the heart.
Right.
It literally felt like someone...
It just brought it back to... Yeah.
And I remember because I came up like in the movies, I was like, ah! like that. And then they had to hold me down. And then I started vomiting up everything. And that was the third time I died. Because watching it was really weird. Because even I was confused.
Right. Like, what is happening?
Like, what's happening? Like, why are you going? Like, I remember feeling like, why are you going so far away? Like, and they kept saying, Sarah, can you hear me? Sarah, her eyes are open, but she's not responding. Sarah, can you? And then snapping. And Dad, Sarah, look at me, Sarah. And I just remember looking at him like, not there.
Yeah.
And then Mom and Dad started, okay, you gotta wake up. You gotta wake up. We're gonna do it again. Wake up, Sarah, wake up. And it just kept saying, wake up, respond. And then it was like a big hit to the body. My body just like, this is shocked me back to life.
Yeah.
And that was like the third time. And the second time was the same because I remember something was happening. I don't know. I can't remember.
Was it in the surgery the second time?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Because they brought me out of surgery. And something between there went wrong. And I remember feeling the same. Just like I'm drifting away and everything feels really calm and not really unnormal to me. I've gotten kind of used to dying.
Like, here we go with this again. Yeah.
And I remember because Dad barged through the door and said, Sarah, wake up. And I remember going like that, like, ugh. And then looking at him and then just vomiting up all this green stuff and just feeling like so exhausted, like I was like thrown back.
Yeah.
Like I was being tossed back and forth. And I remember because I don't know where Mom went, but the doctor started panicking about something. And I remember hearing all of it.
Right.
But I felt fine. Like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to go over there now. Bye. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Dad was just like, wake up. And then I was like, oh, that's Dad. Like, I don't know. It brought me back.
Yeah.
That fact that they always had to just command it to happen. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like that authority thing. Yeah. You know, like when your father tells you something and you're like, I better do it because Dad's saying it.
Right. Yeah. Especially our father.
Yes. So that's how I felt. And I remember feeling so sick and looking right at him. And he goes, you look like a ghost. He's like, you're so pale. He's like, breathe. And I remember just vomiting up. And they even said, they go, what is she vomiting? Like, they didn't even know what it was. Right. Because it was this weird greenish black stuff. And they were like
Ghostbusters.
Uh-huh. And they were like, what is this? And they were like, and it smells awful. Yeah. And Dad was like, that's the demon. That's the demon that keeps trying to kill her. It's coming out. And they thought he was crazy. Right. But they themselves couldn't explain the vomit, like what it was and why it smelled so bad. And it did. It smelled like battery acid. It smelled horrible. It was like rotten. And I remember just thinking like, what is happening to me? Like, 1 minute I'm here, 1 minute I'm there, and now I'm vomiting. Like I myself couldn't keep it like under control. It's just like sometimes I was there, sometimes I was taken away, sometimes I was brought back. But the last 2 times my parents had to bring me back. And then my grandmother brought me back the first time.
Right.
So,
do you think if your parents were ministers, you'd be alive today?
No, not at all.
You'd be dead.
I'd be dead.
But your parents, our parents,
yeah.
ability to understand the spirit realm and to connect to the spirit realm is what saved you.
I truly believe so. Yeah.
Now, having been over there, knowing what it feels like, knowing that there are evil terrors in this world, knowing that we're all ultimately connected.
Yeah.
And that when you go to the other side, there's none of this emotion that goes into this life. Right?
Right.
What about the other side? Do you think people need to know?
That it's there, yeah.
Yeah.
And that this isn't the only life. I mean, it's just going to be a very different situation.
Is there hell?
Yes. Absolutely.
Who goes there?
Again, we are spirit beings. We're in mortal bodies. And people who have demons, and that's what I'm going to say is demons, people who do real crimes, people who believe that they're possessed, things like that, that's where they go. And it's also even up to them when they get to that side. See, when you die, you're not hit with a ton of knowledge right away. It's not like automatically you know everything. No. It's still a process. Because you yourself don't want to believe you're dead. You don't want to believe that that time is up. And because you feel so normal, like because you're now a spirit and it feels comfortable, it feels normal. Like you've been there before.
Right. You're back to basically from whence you came.
Yes. So you don't really tell at first what has happened to you.
Yeah.
And it is a process for certain people. For others, it's a different kind of thing. It depends on them or their beliefs or their own ancestors. Certain people will die and their family members come and get them. And then it's explained to them and they're saved in a certain way where it's okay to go. And then there's other people who pass away too early, and then you have to be explained why. Those things I really can't explain because there's a lot of different things that go into it.
Right, right.
And that is a higher power. That's a decision by a higher power or by a much eviler power. The eviler power will take you from this realm, and then it's up to the higher power to explain why. I can't explain that entity or why you died or why it happened to you. All I can say is that it did. And this is now you, the real you. And you're going to have to learn to adjust. I think also because we are spirit beings and then we become so full of energy when we're on the other side, that's how some people get haunted. Or spirits don't know how to process the fact that they're dead, so they stay. It is sometimes a real choice. And then sometimes it isn't. It depends on the person. Like someone who's an atheist. I believe that someone who's an atheist who passes away, they kind of go in the in-between because they themselves don't believe that there's another life or that there's a higher power. So now they're just energy roaming because they themselves don't want to believe it.
So do you think when you have like a real destructive addiction and they're like, you have to give in to a higher power, do you think that it's like a negative energy, a demon as you call it, that has gotten a hold of them somehow, and that the way that they beat it is by connecting to that higher power, and that gives them the power to beat it?
Yeah. Yeah, because you know how certain people will say, well, I kicked cigarettes because it's a mental thing. Well, it's kind of the same thing. It is a mental thing, but you have to focus that energy and truly believe that you can focus that energy and turn it into what you want it to be. And people don't want to do that. They want a quick fix. They want answers like that. See, the power that we can have on that side, we can have on this side, but it's going to take a lot longer because we're in the mortal body.
Right.
But because we are made of pure energy and we are connected to everything, anything is possible. I mean, our whole world was created by our imagination because someone decided, I want to do this. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. But keeping that energy is another whole different story. Because it's holding a door open, holding the energy within yourself and connecting to everything else at the same time. And when you do that, it can go really good or really bad.
So are you talking about meditation now? What are you talking about?
Yes, I'm talking about meditation. I mean, people will take drugs and they have their experiences. Like people will take acid and think like, I saw the heavens and it's not really necessarily a trip. It really is you connecting to your spirit mind. And you're seeing with your spirit mind.
Right.
That's why they say there's colors and vibrations and they feel it because they are connecting to something different. You have now shut down the man part of you, the human part of you. And now only the spirit part of you can see everything. And even when you see it, it's different. It's like it's different. Yeah. It's just not normal. It is like an acid trip in a certain way. For them, it is that weird and psychedelic and that. But if you're not careful, you create holes in your mind. And those holes can just torment you all by yourself because it's an open door. And people don't understand that. They don't understand that by doing that, you're opening things that you shouldn't be opening, not until way later in life, to where you can understand yourself or know who you are. When you're confused, conflicted, lost, abused, hurt, you find these things and they seem like they're real connections. But what you're doing is creating energy. And then the energy feels like something else. But it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be something else out there. It could be something in here. I mean, because even people who have split personalities can even do it. I mean, it's really weird how someone could be like as normal as me and then turn into a complete crazy person. That is a window. It's a doorway. And how it switches off and on is kind of the same thing with the energy. You can obtain it and you can hold it, but to make sure you don't produce something bad is completely up to you.
So how does that work? What do you say control the energy? You're talking about our own energy?
Our own energy. Like I said, human beings are lightning in a bottle. And if we could understand that idea, we could understand the spirit realm. Because the spirit realm is energy. And they're still there. They're still alive. There is a heaven. People who have gone there, I mean, people who are there, they're living lives in a completely different way. And then you have the in-between where it's like, oh, we're kind of here, but we're kind of not. And it's kind of like a ghost, but it's not really a ghost. It's like more of an entity of energy. And it just can go backwards. It really can. Because once my door opened, all of that came with it. I started having the dreams. I started having visions. I could hear people's thoughts. I could feel energies, things like that. And it can be quite confusing and really just all kinds of messed up.
Yeah.
And that's why meditate. Because you want to take all of that and separate all the wrong and then just hold the energy.
Do you think that that's always kind of been really what prayer and extended periods of prayer is what it's actually about? It's about a meditation. It's about a focusing on the positive.
Yeah, it's focusing on the positive, not the negative.
It's focusing, and if you call it the Lord, it's the Lord.
Yeah. See, I think it's God because it's just too dynamic for it to not be real. It's too different. It's too unexplainable and perfect all at the same time. I mean, I can't even explain how it felt to be on the other side because it's unexplainable.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it gives you knowledge, but it gives you the kind of knowledge you don't really know how to interpret. I mean, you can ask the world for things. You can ask the earth for answers and they'll give it to you. There's something always listening.
Yeah.
And I truly believe it's God. But in other cases, it could be the devil too. And he does exist. And he is a big, mean motherfucker. He is not someone to play with, nor look for, nor invite. Because that shit... You think about dying is one thing, but meeting that person is a whole different experience. I mean, come on. You don't think about meeting God, but you definitely never think about meeting the devil. And the devil comes with a whole legion of monsters. And he loves torment. He loves it. It's like playing, Russian roulette. Is the gun going to go off or not? That's how it feels meeting the devil. Meeting these entities. Because they are so good at manipulating you. And thinking that this is your ancestor. This is your dead grandma. This is your dad. And it's not. And that's the energy I'm telling people. Stay away from it. Don't go looking for those things because they're there. And they love to play with the innocent. They love to play with you. They love to make it seem like it's so fascinating and crazy cool and look at what I can... No. That energy will consume you and immediately kill you.
How do you know the difference?
See, and that was hard for me to learn too. See, when Dad died, a month after Dad died was Halloween. And that's when it got creepy. I mean, really creepy. One night, I was very sick. And then I got it up and it was around 2:30 in the morning. I was the only one awake. And at the time, I had my 2 dogs with me. And animals are very, very good at sensing things. So I went to the TV room and I decided I'm going to meditate and try to control the pain and just not instead of waking my mom up or making a big deal about it, I'm going to control it myself. So there I was meditating, praying, and that's when it started going into that effect. I can tell the difference. When I'm meditating, I'm now in a different presence. I can feel the change. Because it also gets very warm and familiar. It's no longer like the same room or the same temperature. I can feel the difference in my body. So I started singing songs, Christian songs my dad had taught me.
True.
And in the middle of it, maybe 30 minutes into it, weird shit started happening. So I'm singing the songs and I'm thinking of my dad. And I'm trying to pray. I'm definitely meditating. And all of a sudden, I hear my dad. And he starts singing. And so I'm thinking, it's my dad. I want to believe it is. Now, there is a scripture in the Bible that says, to be absent from the body is to be in the presence of the Lord. And that was the one thing my father always taught me, was about that. And that even when people die, they do meet the Lord, and that there is no way that they can just be around. That there is connection, there's rules. So there I am praying, and I started hearing him singing, And I keep singing, and I just, I'm thinking I'm connecting. And then all of a sudden, noises started happening in the kitchen. Now, my father used to get up every night and make himself coffee and walk around the house praying.
Yeah.
That was his way of covering us.
Right.
And in the moment, I started hearing the coffee pot moving and glasses, and like as if he was really in the kitchen. And this is what started throwing me off. My dogs wake up and start looking at the kitchen. So I continue to meditate, and I'm thinking, okay, no big deal. Maybe I really am connecting, and this is no, it wasn't. I started praying, and something told me, don't listen. It's not him. And I remember stopping in the middle of my singing and going, nope, no, it's not you. I go, that's not my father. I go, you're not my dad. And in that moment, my dogs jumped up from the floor and started growling and barking and running into the kitchen. And the pots and pans started shaking and banging. And so there I go. And then I knew, an entity. You're an entity trying to manipulate me and pretend you're my father. You're not my dad. You're something pretending to be my dad. I had to catch it before I completely got seduced by it.
Wow.
And then the moment I caught it was when everything started acting really weird. The dogs started running all over the house and just barking and growling through the house. Everyone's asleep. It's just me. So I'm in the TV room and I stay calm and I start praying and I'm binding whatever happens. And I remember feeling something really strong over me. And I opened my eyes and my two dogs are right in front of me, growling like it was right in front of me, like behind me. And I could feel the presence. I could feel like something dark over me. I was mad. I caught it. It was mad I caught it. It was trying to convince me of something else. Yeah. And I remember I had to pray and pray and pray. And then it was like really weird because then it just stopped. Everything just stopped. And the dogs walked in a circle and laid right back down in front of me and went to sleep. I mean, talk about weird. Oof. And I even said, I go, wow, you really try to confuse me. You really try to, I go, wow, you tried to pretend you were my dad. That's how messed up that was. You even sounded like him, started singing like him. But the moment I caught it and said, no, you're not my dad, it just lost its shit. Started banging pots in the kitchen.
Got angry because it couldn't have your energy.
Mm-hmm. Got angry. Started running all over the house. The dog started freaking out like it was chasing it. And that's what I mean. You have to be careful.
Now, let me ask you this. Most people don't see these things in their lives.
No.
They live their whole life
without ever experiencing something like it.
Are they lucky?
No, they're asleep. They're asleep to it. See, they're in their mortal body and they have the mortal thinking, the mortal way of being. They're not connected to the energy, which is already there. It's like, I don't know, it's like a light bulb you got to go turn on. Anybody could do it. I mean, why do you think those
But do you want to do it?
No. I wouldn't suggest it. Like, there's certain people that really can do things like this and they're helping others. They really do. When they give like readings and they tell them like about a kid who died or their child who had an accident and it just happened to them, those things are good. But even for them, they're taking a very big risk by doing this because you're summoning something.
Yeah.
You're summoning the spirit, whether it is there or not. You're summoning something for someone else's pleasure. For
someone else's purpose.
Yes. Yeah. And that can be a very big leap of faith for the person because you're taking on the energy into your own body to take on whatever you're trying to do. What knowledge
that they're trying to find out.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why I say don't go to Ouija boards.
Right.
Don't go to tarot cards. Right. And anyone with amulets, even if they have some insight, I'd be careful because they're using a spirit guide when they do that.
Yeah. What do you mean a spirit guide? Is that somebody that's attached to them now?
Yes. It's something that they have looked for and have received, and they have connection to it, and they have answers from the other side. And yes, it will give you information, but it could also torment the person. It can make you sick. It could do all kinds of things to a human body because it's not a normal entity. You people are not always supposed to know everything, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
And these people who do readings like that, you're messing with spirits that are not real spirits. They're not your ancestors. They're people, they're just bad energy taking on form. They're just taking on form.
Are people inherently good energy, or are some people brought here to be negative energy?
No, we're meant to be good energy. We're the ones who fuck it up. We mess it up with everything that we do to ourselves and everything that we allow in.
Yeah.
See, it's always an allow in. You have to always open the door. And we don't even know that we're doing it. We don't even know that we have that kind of power. So even just talking evil or thinking something, it's creating something. It's opening something. There's ears everywhere.
Yeah.
And human beings, I think, don't even know it. They don't even.
No, we don't. No, yeah. We think we're just cruising along, doing whatever we want, and nobody's paying attention, and just whatever.
Mm-hmm. And to me, you're basically, and it's fine to not be so in tuned, but remember that like everything you put out there comes back. Everything that you put out there is listened to.
Let me ask you this, and you don't have to answer this if you want to, but did you meet Satan?
I met one of his workers. I met a legion, not Satan himself. I mean, it felt like Satan himself. He definitely said that he was Lucifer, but they all claim to be Lucifer when they're messing with you.
Right.
And that's that experience. It happened in 2015. And
you don't have to tell you. We don't have to talk about it.
No, I want to because
if it gives too much power to it, we don't have to do it.
No, I want to because it was so traumatic. I mean, it really was something different. I hadn't gone up against something like that before. And he caught me off guard. I had gotten hospitalized in 2015 for a kidney infection, and the pain was not going away.
Yeah.
So my doctor upped my meds to try to knock it out. It had been days now. Well, what happened when he did that was that it opened my door. And like really opened it. Like I had to get saved. Someone had to come and save me. I could not fight it on my own. And it was the most scariest moment of my life.
Of all these things,
of all of
this
one takes the cake. Because he tormented me. He made sure I knew I didn't have that power at that moment. And
because of the drugs.
Because of the drugs. The door was just too open and it let everything in. And it was horrible because I'm in the hospital, I'm already going through stuff. And what really pissed me off is how he was able to come in. See, I truly believe in light, and all my bad experiences have happened in the dark. Mm-hmm. And to me, if there's light, you can't come in. Mm-hmm. There's a protection. I don't know. That's how it feels to me.
Right. And like, if you believe it, then it's true.
Yes. Well, my nurses at the time, I was knocked out. They finally knocked me out with the drugs, and someone had turned off the TV. And I had told them, the TV or the sideline is to always stay on, no matter what. And they didn't listen.
Of course not. They're like, silly girl. Okay. She's asleep.
There I was asleep. And this is how I know it wasn't a dream or a hallucination. Because it woke me up. See, when it's a good situation, it'll come in a dream, a vision. You'll feel a good sense. Mm-hmm. When it wakes you out of your sleep, that's when you're in trouble. Because now it's there. It is a presence there.
Yeah.
It's not here. It's there. And that's what he did. And he woke me up. He wanted me to know he was there. I remember being in the bed and him saying, Sarah. Like that. Mm. And his voice, I'll never forget the voice. Because it was like a slithering sound. Like a snake. Sarah. Sarah! Like that. I was like, and I woke up and he goes, hello, Sarah. Sarah. Like that. And I was like, and I remember I wake up and it's just pitch black in my room. Just black.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm looking for the remote and he's like, you're not going to find it. They moved it too far from you. And I'm like, And I was like, who are you? I go, who are you? And he's like, you know who I am. And I go, Lucifer. And he goes, oh, I love it when you know. And I was like, you can't be here. I go, you're not allowed here. I go, you can't be here. I go, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. And he goes, then why am I here? And I remember trying to climb out of the bed like this and him going, like pushing me. And I went like that back. And he's like, where are you going, Sarah? Where are you going? Where are you going to go? And I said, no, you're not real. I said, no, you're not real. I go, no. And I started praying. I go, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He goes, is the Lord your shepherd? Is the Lord your shepherd? Do you not want? Where's your Lord now? Where's your Lord? Tell me. What are you going to do, Sarah? And then more of them came. See, the main voice was here on the side next to me. And then he had the Legion, which felt like little tiny monsters pushing at me. And he kept jumping in my face. I felt like I was trying to like block him. Because he's like, what are you going to do? Stop. And he's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I was like, this. And I was like, no, I bind you, I bind you, I bind you, I bind you in the name of Jesus. And he's like, in the name of Jesus, you're going to bind me. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Stop me. He's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do, Sarah? And I remember just crying, started to cry. And then I remember saying to him, I go, you can't exist in light. And I'm going to get up and I'm going to turn that light on. You're going to go. You got to go. You can't be here. And I remember I climbed and I got almost up and something went and threw me back again. And I remember because I hit my head. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, like that really happened. And all these things just lunging at me. I can feel like being pulled and tugged like this and then lunged at. And he's just laughing. And he's like, where's your Lord now? Where's your Lord? Where's your help? Who's going to save you? Where's your faith? Where's your power, Sarah? Where is it? Where is it? And I started crying and I started screaming, help, help, like really screaming. And I kept saying, someone's in my room, someone's in my room, someone's in my room, someone, turn on the light, like really screaming. And he's just laughing and they're hitting me and I can feel them hitting my chest like this, like over and over again. And finally, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, turn on the light. And someone touches my shoulder like this. And I remember going like shock, like, cause I could feel like a full grab.
Yeah.
And I turned and I looked and he was Grandpa Romero. He's standing over me.
God's a hero.
And I looked at him and I go, Grandpa, they won't stop. They won't stop. They won't stop. Grandpa, they won't stop. They're killing me. They're killing me. And he smiled really big. And he went like this with his hand right over me. And the brightest light came out of his hand. The brightest white light. I was blinded. I remember because I even went like this, like, oh, like I couldn't see. And I just hear, no, like that from him. And then it's all stopped. It just all stopped. And in that moment, my nurses they start walking in because I had been screaming.
Yeah.
And I remember looking right at Grandpa saying, they wouldn't stop, Grandpa. They wouldn't stop. And I was exhausted. I just passed out. The next thing I know, I wake up and Dad and Mom are walking into the room. Oh, and that's what I forgot. He really tormented me about my dad. Before Grandpa shows up, and I think that's why he shows up. Because he tells me, I'm going to kill your dad. You want to know something, Sarah? I'm going to take everything you love, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's like I'm going to take your dad. And right now, I'm breaking into your house, and I'm stealing everything from you. You think you're safe, don't you? You ain't safe for 1 minute. You're now in my control. And that's when that started really, and I kept saying no. And that's when he put the vision in my head of 2 men going through my house taking shit. 2 days later, they had to tell me our house was broken into. The piano was stolen. My dog was stolen. Everything was taken. He showed me 2 men in my house robbing us. And he's like, the way they're robbing you is the way I'm going to rob you of your daddy. It's like, and then let's see how well you do. And I kept saying, no, you can't kill him. I go, that's never going to happen. He goes, it's already happening. And there's nothing you can do to stop. And then Grandpa came and saved me. And then the next morning when I came back, I told Dad what he said. And I said, we gotta do something. I go, because he's gonna kill you. He's gonna kill you, he's got a plan. I told him, I go, if he wipes you out, he breaks the covenant. And he knows that. I go, and if I lose you, there goes the protection. I go, you're the head. I go, don't you understand? I go, don't you understand? And he told me, we're going to pray against it. This was just a bad experience. Greater is he that is in me. And I was so open. And I told him, no, this was different, Dad. He means it. He means it. He's starting a war. I go, he can't kill me. He could kill Drew. I go, so he's coming to take you. I go, because you're weak. I go, you're sick. I go, and he's telling me he's going to kill you. I go, and I got to stop it. I felt burdened. Like I had to do something.
Me too.
My dad died 4 months later after that.
Yeah.
And even up to the day that he died, I tried to stop it. I was warned. The spirit told me. I couldn't. They drove off. And calling him. He wouldn't answer the phone. They had just left. And I tried to chase after the van. They told me, stop him from going. And they wouldn't answer the phone, and I couldn't stop them from going to do the procedure.
But you know, Sarah, though, I mean,
it's real.
I know it's real, but at the same time, you know, if it was Dad's time, it was Dad's time, and he just wanted to take credit for it. That's just an evil spirit who wanted to torture you and wanted to make you feel like you're responsible. But he just knew that it was Dad's time because it was Dad's time. You know?
Dad told me.
If it wasn't, we could have stopped it. You know what I mean? So when it's your day, it's your day.
Yeah.
And nothing can stop it. Isn't that right?
But it wasn't. He was supposed to die in his room, in his chair, in his sleep. That's how it was originally supposed to come. His heart was supposed to fail, and he was supposed to die in his sleep, in his chair. And it all got brought on faster because of the surgery. And that was their opportunity to strike him down. And I knew that what he was telling me wasn't a lie, and that he was going to do it, and that he was going to try his best. I just really believed. My dad's a minister.
Yeah.
He knows the word better than anybody else in the world.
That's true.
And he did. If anyone could completely stop this from happening, it would be him. But he started to suffer. And his window opened because of the suffering.
Yeah.
And because it took me weeks to come off of the drugs from the hospital, I felt him. I felt his spirit and his confusion and his anger towards it all.
Yeah.
So when it really happened, I really couldn't handle it because I was upset.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
And also because I felt like the door got closed on me. If anyone should have known anything or felt anything or connected to anything, it would have been me.
Yeah.
And there I was with him, and I couldn't connect to him. I couldn't bring him back the way he brought me back. And I know he could hear me. I know he was there, but he was being translated. Because I could feel that presence. And when I felt that presence, I knew it was that presence because I had felt it before.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, it really is real. Like, you're translating. You're going to the other side.
Yeah. And I knew that too. I was like, this is the time. It's his time. This is it. This is the day. And maybe he was supposed to die in his bed and maybe not. You know, I mean, but when it's your day, you know, people get up and they just plan to go to work. But the forces of the universe decide, no, today is the day that tire on that truck's going to blow out and it's going to force it into a skid, and that skid's going to take you.
Yeah.
You know, and
you know, my dad, I think he started sensing it too.
Yeah.
Because he knew how weird I was. And 2 weeks before he passed away, he was making himself coffee and I came up to get my own cup. And he just stopped and he turned and looked at me and he said, I want you to listen to me. If something happens to me, you are not to go looking for me. I don't want you to lose your life. And I said, Dad, you know, I'm never going to listen to you. And he goes, no, this is different. He goes, I know that you have your ways of doing things. He goes, but if something happens to me, don't go looking for me. It's against God. He goes, and I don't want you to lose your life.
Yeah.
And then he brought up the story from the Bible about the son that brought his father back from the dead so he could talk to him. And the dad said, why have you done this? Mm-hmm. Because you have done this, you are now going to die with me. Mm-hmm. And he does. He loses his life. So Dad was afraid that something like that would happen. And he didn't warn me about it. And up until then, I really didn't care to take it serious or like tell him like, I'll never go looking. No, of course not. I always thought like, no, I'm going to find you.
Right.
It's always going to be a connection, so I'm just going to, you know, use it. And when he died, they shut that door on me. Yeah. And I think they did it on purpose so I can accept what was happening and so he could translate to his next life without wanting to stay.
Yeah, that's great.
And so that was the worst because I had never gone against something like that.
Yeah.
Nothing that had predicted my future that well. And nothing that had scared me and tormented me the way it did. I mean, I felt sore the next day, like I had taken a beating. I mean, I felt exhausted, like as if I was in battle for a whole night long. And I remember feeling like a corpse, like I was dragging around a corpse. Like I had taken a beating of my life.
Yeah.
And I haven't had an encounter like that since then. I don't wish to.
Heck no. Boy, let's not do that. No, sir.
But they're there. It's happened and it's real. And I know that the devil's real because of how bad it felt. It felt like doom.
Yeah.
Like pure hate. Like I even asked him, why me? And he said, why not you?
Right. Why not any of us? Right. They'll take any of us.
They'll take any of us.
They don't care.
Mm-hmm. It's just another light out.
Okay, when we arrive, are we all children of God?
Yes. We definitely are. We are just like it says in the Bible, created in his image. So everything about us in this realm is everything that he is, from laughter to emotion, everything that we are.
He does laugh, right?
He laughs.
He has a sense of humor.
He has a sense of humor. Boy, he has a sense of humor.
Yeah, okay.
He wouldn't be a comedian if he didn't have a sense of humor.
Right. He loves comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves music.
He loves music.
Let me ask you this, and maybe you don't know the answer to this. This is something I've always... Does he love worship?
Yes.
He does love worship.
He's the one who created it. And that's his way of keeping us together. Worship. We worship together. We meditate together. And in that, we connect to one another. Our energies are now synced. And when we're synced, we are one being. And when we're one being, we're unstoppable.
What about when you worship on your own, though?
Same thing. You're still connected.
You're just connecting to him.
You're just connecting to him.
So he does enjoy it.
The earth. You're connecting to everything he created. I mean, it's a little more complicated sometimes, depending on the person. But for someone like me, it feels so natural and normal, like just easy.
Yeah.
Like you're visiting a friend. And he's shown up. He's been in dreams.
Yeah, he's appeared to me as well. I remember I was really down. I was so down. And I had a dream. And what was strange about it was we're sitting at the table in the living room, at the dining room table.
Yeah.
And, okay, I left all my trophies here at the house from high school.
Yeah.
And, of course, they wound up in the back in some shed, and they've been, rained on and snowed on, and snakes, and who knows what else. And
I think I still...
But we're sitting at the table, and someone had dragged out the trophies and set them on the table in front of me. But they're all beat up, from being outside.
Being out there.
Like, that's how I knew they were real, because they had been brought in from out there. So they were like, they were missing posts, and half that they were, scraped up and all messed up. But there they were. They were all these trophies. the big red and gold one right in front of me. And, you know, part of it was missing and wasn't the right color anymore in a lot of places. Like, and I was like, oh my God, you guys dragged in my old trophies. Mm-hmm. And I turned and there was Dad sitting next to me. Oh. And he looked at me and he goes, you've always been a champ. Don't forget, you're a champ. You're a champion. Don't forget that. You're not a loser. You're a champion. Without saying, he said it with his eyes. Yeah. The way that you said they communicate without words. Mm-hmm. He said that to me. He's like, you're a champion. Look at these trophies. They were just giving them to people. You won those because you're a champion. And don't forget that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, Dad. And the amazing thing about when you see Dad is that it wakes you up. Yeah. Your recognition of him, of like, oh, you're here. Yeah. You know, like, so before you can communicate to him and say anything, or it's that recognition. It just woke me up. Mm-hmm. And I knew he'd come to encourage me. Yeah. Because he was really down.
And that's how your ancestors will come. They'll come in a dream or a vision. If you're being woken up at night, that's not them. Right. But if it's in a dream or if it comes to you from just out of the blue, that's them. That's them trying to encourage you. That's them trying to show you, I'm still here. Yeah. I'm still listening. I mean, I communicated with Dad like 3 times after he died. Yeah. I mean, one of the dreams was kind of weird because it was just weird. In the dream, I'm walking through the house and I could hear drums. Like just big, like I don't know, like tribal drums.
Right, like bongos.
Yes. Right. And I remember going over to the window in the front room and I look outside and there seems to be like a concert going on. It looks like a large field and there's thousands of people on it. And it's right across from my house, right. Okay, in the dream. So I'm thinking, that's weird. So I'm not caring very much about it. I just think that's nice. And in the dream, I walk up into the kitchen and I'm getting some stuff together and I look up and at every window, there are people at it. There's people at the window. And there's tons of them, tons and tons of them. So I go downstairs to the other window to see what's going on and they're trying to open these doors. They're pushing the church doors. So I go to the front door and I open it and I was like, hey, stop it. What are you trying to break in my house for? Like I yell at them and there's tons of people. It's just tons and tons of people. And out of nowhere, Dad walks out of the bedroom and he looks completely like he was. Yeah. Healthy and everything. And he's in his gray robe. And he comes out, he's like, what are you doing? Why are you making so much noise? And I go, Dad, there's all these people on my yard and I don't know what they're doing. They're trying to break into the church. And he goes, you sure these aren't your stupid friends? And I'm like, Dad, do I look like I know this many people? Like, I even look at him and I go, wait. And I even look at him and I go, wait a minute. And I look back at the porch and there's a guy standing there and I go, hey, what are you all doing here? I go, you guys are supposed to be over there. What is going on? And he goes, and the guy goes, we're waiting. And I go, waiting for what? And he goes, we're waiting for it. And I go, what? And he goes, that's why he's here. And points right at my dad. And I go, what? And I look at Dad and he disappears. And I look back at the man and he goes, we're waiting for it. And I wake up. All I got from it was how bad they were trying to open that door. And that they were waiting for it. In my head, this means they're waiting to interact with us. Or they're waiting for our door to open, where they're freely with us, where there is no barrier. Right. That was my interpretation of it, because he even says, that's why he's here, about Dad. And they're trying so hard to open a door. And there's thousands of them. Yeah. I mean, they covered the entire yard. Yeah. I mean, even the street, everything. Yeah. There were so many of them. And he just kept saying, we're waiting for it. And to me, that was so odd. Yeah. Because all I kept thinking was, that many people, what are you waiting for? And that's when I started putting it together, the door. Maybe they're waiting for the interaction. Maybe they are waiting on the other side for our 2 realms to collide, to finally interact. I think that maybe we are meant to be with each other. but there are barriers to keep us protected from each other. So they can move on and we can move on. But the fact that they were trying so hard to get in, it just threw me completely off. It just made me feel like, what are you waiting for if you're already over there?
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And that's what they kept saying. We're waiting for it. We're waiting for it. We're waiting for it. I'm like, what is it that you're waiting for? And they kept trying to push the door open. That's all I kept thinking. You're pushing the door open. You're trying to get into my house. Is it my house they're trying to get into, or is it our realm? And there's so many of them. Thousands of them.
Sure.
And then I kept saying, we're waiting for it. And that was the first encounter I had with Dad after he died, was in that dream. So I felt like in some way that maybe there's a sign in there that I'm missing, that I haven't fully interpreted.
Yeah, that was the mystery. Mine was real obvious.
Yours was real obvious. Dad was there to encourage you.
Me, yeah.
And the only reason why I also know that he was supposed to die of a heart attack is because Dad's the one who told me. I had a vision doing the dishes. See, I'm sick now, and I need a kidney transplant. And so I'm going through my own issues. And so I was talking to the doctor when I first met him, my surgeon, and he talked about dialysis and all that stuff. But what really caught me was when he was talking about the medication that killed my dad in his dialysis surgery for the tube. They used iodine. And he told me, well, I can't even use an ounce of iodine because just one drop would send you into critical, he's like, you die.
Yeah.
It was just that's it. Your kidney can't handle it. It just kill you. And it was like boom, 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 boom in my head, literally. Because I remember crying and I was telling him, I want a real answer of why my dad died. I truly believe that's not how he was supposed to go. And I was mad because we had made a deal. When I was a little girl, I told him, why'd you wake me up? I told him that. I go, why'd you wake me up? It was beautiful over there. I don't want to be here. I go, I was sick, hurting and suffering. I go, why'd you wake me up? And then I haunted him with that for like a year. Why'd you wake me up? Why'd you wake me up? Why'd you wake me up? So my dad was very conflicted too about, was that the right decision, was to bring her back or not? And so we made a deal and he said, I'll never leave you. And if I do, we'll go together. Because we'll stay together or we'll go together. Just so you'll never be alone. So when he died, I felt betrayed. Felt like, hey, we had a plan, old man.
Yeah. Everybody has a plan.
And there I was crying about it, and I was doing the dishes. And I said, it's not fair. You left me here. I got all weird, and I can't fix anything. And it was like, boom. And it was like, I didn't leave you. I was killed. I didn't choose that moment. It's like I was supposed to die in the chair. But this is how it happened, Bebe. And it's okay. I'm okay. And it was just like in my head. And I was like, oh, okay. Like there's the answer.
Yeah.
Like he didn't mean to go. They did hurt him. They did give him the iodine. He did go into shock. He died. Yeah. And I was like so upset about it that he himself had to tell me, no. I didn't leave you. I was killed, but it's okay. I was going to pass away in a different way anyways. But he had to explain to me, like, this is how it had to be. And that he was okay.
That's great.
I mean, he missed his mom.
Yeah.
But he looks in on us every now and then. I mean, he's not allowed to be in our presence all the time because then he himself cannot move on.
Right.
So
it's like a flicker. Kind of check in on us.
Yeah, check in on us.
Yeah, like, hey, listen, I'm just going to go check in on him real quick.
Yeah.
And they let him.
See, my dad used to say, dying is like walking through a door.
Yeah.
And it is. It's like walking through a door. It's like going from here to there. And it took me a long time to accept that. Very long time. Because I felt that I let him down. I was tormented and told that they were going to kill my dad. And I couldn't stop it. And it took me about 2 years to come to terms that there was nothing I could truly do other than pray against it. And then afterwards, it was all up to him.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, When your card gets pulled, that guy would love to tell you, that demon would love to say that he did it, but nothing is done without his permission. He chose the day, and that was the day.
It was hard.
So let me ask you this. You've gone through all these things. You've seen so much. You've felt so much. Was there any one last thing, anything that gives you hope, that could give other people hope in this life and what we deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Keep faith. Know that you're not alone. Even if you don't believe in God, believe in your ancestors. Know that there is another side that really cares about us and that is still connected to us. We're not just bodies in a coffin. We're so much more than that. And if people could learn to just believe in even themselves, they could do tremendous things. I mean, we're incredible as human beings. I mean, we're even more incredible because we're also spirit beings.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's searching for something, you have the answers. Your relative, your family, even if nobody you know is dead, there's spirits there that care. They're angels. I've met them. I've met angels. I mean, I was 6 and an angel appeared to me to save me. I saved my ass because I couldn't do the procedure correctly. I couldn't learn what they were telling me. And I was hurting myself. And he had to appear and he spoke to me and told me what I needed to do. And because of that, I was able to continue on with what they needed me to do without any problems. And because of that, I know that there's angels. I know that there's a heaven. I know there's a hell too. And I just want people to understand, like, you're not alone, man. I know that it feels that way, but that is energy that is being brought in by you. Because you feel that way. Because you convince yourself of that. Just turn it around. And if you have a problem, go to a park and meditate. Go touch a tree and meditate. Because that tree has 1,000 years of energy that could bring you back to life if you just let it.
Wow.
Because we're just pure energy. We have power within ourselves to do incredible things, even to overcome our own situations. We're just so mortal in our own mortal selves that it doesn't reflect, it doesn't connect. That's why I call it like a little window, a little flicker of light. People don't know it's there, but it is. And it's tremendous to have. It's something that if you really want to obtain it, you can. And for those who are searching for family members, they're okay. Everything is explained on the other side, and they'll accept it in their own way, whether they want to or not, it's explained. And whether they understand it or not, they do find peace. And for family members who have lost someone to crimes or things that are absolutely unbearable to think of, that person's getting exactly what they deserve. Because there's no torment in the world that we can put on someone like that they're not already going through in themselves. Those demons are festering in them.
Yeah.
And they are turning them into unnormal humans. And they've done terrible things, and God will handle that. Everything done in darkness is brought to light. Those things, they never get away from them. Nobody gets away unpunished.
Right.
You got someone that you're looking for, you'll find them, and you'll find them dead, or you'll find them in complete chaos because that's what they're producing themselves.
Yeah.
We don't need to go and hurt somebody. They're doing it to themselves. They're opening a door and letting everything in. And when that happens, you're destroying yourself.
Wow.
And that's all I gotta say about that, because most people will go looking for answers for people who have been killed or children who have been kidnapped and murdered. For those parents, I think the most unthinkable things that had happened to their children, God was there and he took them before it happened. They are not there when these things happen to them. They are now in the middle. They are not alive. They are not present when it is happening to them. I want them to know that.
We have a merciful God.
God is merciful.
And he's like, you're not going to be here for this.
You're not going to be here for this.
And he takes them out.
Mm-hmm. Parents have that problem with trying to understand because you have that. What did they do to her? What she went through? What she suffered? She didn't. Her mortal body did, but her spirit was not there. God comes and covers you in trauma like that, where it just takes you away. I mean, people who even survive things like that even say, I go to a mental place.
Right. They're like, I can't remember what happened. Then it's
that's like, God. That's the spirit or whoever, maybe even a relative coming to block it from you, to protect you. Children who are killed, they're gone before they're killed.
Yeah.
They're not there in the present when it's happening. I know that. God has made it very clear that he stops it from happening to them. It happens mortally, but spiritually, they're not there. They're in a different presence altogether. So I want parents like that to understand that. Because it's horrific. It's horrible things. I can't even imagine being that kind of a parent going through something like that. And the only thing I can give them is the peace of mind that God took them and covered them before it happened. Now, the initial shock of being kidnapped or taken, that is something they'll remember. But the actual effect, they're not there. They're being shielded. They're being taken away. So they don't feel it. So they don't get affected by it. And in a way, it's saving them. It's saving them. They're saving their souls.
Yeah.
Because something like that can damage a person in a way that you'll never recover.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I want parents to understand that. God is there, and he is taking them away before it happens. Not every person feels the true effect of what happened. And I'm very grateful for that, because in this realm, there's a lot of horrible things.
Yeah.
A lot of pedophilia, kidnapping, rape. And for those who have survived it or are still in this world, all I can say is pray. Because you will find that inner peace. You will find your guide. And he will protect you. And he will help you find a peace of mind inside yourself where it's just no longer controlling you.
Right, right.
And for those who never come back, or those who are found dead, they're taken care of. They're shielded from it. And as for the person who doesn't, they're tormented to hell. I mean tormented. Not for 1 minute do they not think or remember those people. And don't think for 1 second they don't feel their energy tormenting them too. Because now they're dead, so the spirit is there, and it can come and go. And it can go and haunt the person who killed them. It can go torment them. It can give them a sickness, make you vomit, just to show you, I'm still here. You may have done it with your hands, but I'm doing it with my mind.
Yeah.
And I want people to understand that. Because a lot of people go looking for answers for things like that. I can't explain why that kind of evil happens. Some people have a trigger where they just mentally break and the demon takes over. And then there's others that just have impulses to do shit that just is absolutely wrong. But that's the one thing I wanted to say, because there's a lot of doubt in all of that and a lot of complication in moving on. And it's hard not to think of what could have happened or what did happen.
Right, exactly.
And it does torment people into an early grave.
Yeah.
And I want them to know they're okay. And they were taken before it happened. They're not present when it's happening.
Right.
What is happening is to a body, not to a spirit. The spirit is now with God or with a relative that came. You're being protected. And it's kind of the same with the ones who survived too. And just keep believing that there is a higher power that loves you and knows you better than you know yourself. And that if you call on him and you truly mean it, he'll come. They always do. It's like they love it. They love to come and visit. They love to know that you remember them.
Amen. I love you, Papa.
I love you too.
Hi, I'm comedian Greg Romero Wilson. If you're watching this, then you probably just finished watching part of the documentary interview I did with my extraordinary sister, Sarah Wilson, and her experiences with the afterlife and the other side. Unfortunately, for Sarah's incredible journey to continue, she needs a kidney transplant, and given her unique physical conditions, that means it has to come from a living donor, which means myself or one of Sarah's other brothers. And while we are ready, willing, and able to help, unfortunately, that means twice the surgeries, twice the expense, twice the recovery, twice the medications, twice the travel and accommodations. And obviously insurance isn't going to cover all of that. So we've started a GoFundMe. And if this interview in any way touched your life, spoke to you, we would love your support at this time. If you can help us out, anything you give would be greatly appreciated. Just go to the link that you find in the description of this video. Thank you very much. From my family to yours, God bless.